workshops that we're going to do are not going to have slides, because I like to talk in front of people rather than just see. Hey, Kate, thanks. Because I'd rather talk and explain things to you rather than just have you read words. But when it comes to detox, there's so much information that's really important, so much like technical stuff that's important, and there's some nice pictures that Sojourner and Metagenics put together about detox that I thought it was really great information to share with you. Okay, so first, the purpose of workshops, and sorry you have to hear this again, Stephen, okay, is not just to give you some information. That's some of it. The purpose of the detox is to get you enough knowledge where you can have more conversations with other people about health. The main mission of this office is not just to get you better. That's one thing. But it's to start changing the way people think about health and their habits, and to understand there's a lot more out there other than drugs and surgery. Even though drugs and surgery may be needed at times in times of crisis, healthcare in this country is abysmal. There was just an article yesterday, I think the New York Times printed it too, I might have read it in the Washington Post, another article, I've read the same article lots of times, that the United States longevity is not as good as other countries, even though we spend twice as much money per person than everybody else. And it's not because we don't have great technology. We have amazing technology, we have amazing drugs, amazing doctors. It's just because our habits suck, and because we're exposed to things that we don't even know about. Because even when you're trying to be healthy, you could be taking in things into your body that are having an impact on you, and you don't even know it. So before we even go into what the definition of toxins, which is up here, that probably looked really good on the camera right there. But before we go into the definition of toxins, I want to tell you that you're detoxing right now. I just saw every single one of you exhale at least once. Every single time you exhale, you're detoxing. You're getting rid of acid from your body. Okay? Oh wait, it's a little warm in here, and there's probably at least one dot of perspiration in every single one of us. Okay? Detox. You're getting rid of things through your skin. Okay? Not hugely through your skin, but you are getting rid of toxins that way. Every single time you poop, every single time you pee, that's detoxing. Our body is constantly getting rid of toxins from our body. So the problem is the amount we're exposed to compared to what our bodies can handle. And it's different now in the last few years than it ever was on this planet, ever. And so that brings us to this. Environmental toxins are the #1 thing that we're going to be talking about. Chemicals and metals, okay, are the two most common ones. Okay, so where do they come from? Okay, well, there's waste products. This is a picture of, not just one garbage can, but, probably in Staten Island or Brooklyn where we've had these massive dump, what are they called? Landfills, thank you. That's what's in them. And yes, it's generally safe to put them there and let them stay there, but do you think the toxins that are in one spot just stay in that one spot? I mean, we're breathing in stuff from China right now, coal that's going up into the air. Okay, it comes across and it affects all of us. So, are you toxic? Okay, it's again not the question of are you or aren't you. You are. Just how much? And the definition of source of toxic burden is what we want to really get into, is a toxic load limit. I learned this a bunch of years ago from this great doctor that had, he deals with a lot of chronic illnesses. One thing he was dealing with was not Agent Orange, but from the first Iraqi war. Okay, there was a lot of chemical exposure to those veterans, and he was dealing with post-war syndrome of these toxic exposures. I forgot what the name of it was, of course, but he dealt with a lot of chronic, unusual things, right? And what he found was, And when he tested levels of toxins in every individual, everybody had a different expression of symptoms, or sometimes no symptoms, even though they had the same toxins in their body. We all have a limit, a toxic load limit. And the best story I ever heard of that really describes this toxic load limit was something that Dr. Rakowski, another chiropractor that I follow that's a nutritionist, teaches worldwide, that gave us an example of how one toxin can affect two people differently. A man was arrested and almost convicted in prison for killing his wife. Everybody that knew this couple, knew this man and wife, loved the hell out of each other. They had the greatest relationship in the world. They were inseparable. Nobody could find a motive. Yet he was convicted, okay, of killing his wife because she had arsenic poisoning. And how the hell is this man and woman who basically live in the woods a lot of the time, alone, how is she going to get arsenic poisoning if he didn't do it? Well, in the defense and the appeal, and why he was eventually let free, they were building a log cabin in the house together. That's why they were living in the woods. Wood, before 1980, I might be throwing the numbers off there, but there was a certain cutoff where all wood made for outdoor use was treated with arsenic. And these unknowing people were touching the wood and carrying it and moving it and touching it and absorbing the arsenic into their bodies. And they both were exposed to arsenic. When they did his blood tests, compared to her autopsy report, he had 10 times the amount of arsenic in his system that she did. Yet he had no effect. Zero, he felt fine. She was getting sicker and sicker and sicker over a year and finally passed. But he had 10 times the amount. Same thing with alcohol. I mean, how many of you know somebody that can have one glass of wine and that's it? And then another person that can drink a case of beer and want more? Part of it is conditioning, but most of it is what can our bodies handle? And our bodies these days are being asked to handle more than ever. And so chemicals and pollutants and pesticides are even in us at birth. They're finding it in cord blood. And when you cut the cord, there's toxins traveling through there. You can read the specifics about this, but mainly this was just to make you aware of 100 years ago, this wasn't happening. Exposure to toxins, the CDC tested 212 chemicals and found all to be in the blood and the urine of most Americans. 6 in particular, in virtually every single person in the United States, okay, and that are probable health hazards. So the 6 are, oh, not yet, okay. Where are they coming from? Just household items, cleaning items, plastic bottles. There are actually, I think it was 3,800 chemicals that are in use and generally regarded as safe. That's something called a GRAS reading. Generally regarded as safe, that means you can use it in some part. But the 212 are what we're really exposed to. Okay? The 6 most widespread starts at a very early age. Okay? Fire retardants in children's and babies' clothing, in bedding, in our furniture. Now, they serve a great purpose. Houses aren't burning down as fast, I guess. Yet, we have a price to pay for sleeping on that bed. The story I like to tell in this is I actually found a patient, she was barely even a patient because I couldn't. She ran around the table like 100 times a minute. I could never actually get my hands ever on her. I wound up referring her out, but not until I did some testing on her because every doctor was blowing her off and just said she has ADD. She was about 4 or 5 years old and never spoken a word, not one word, and just not even hyperactive, just unbelievably quick and squirmy. So we got the mom to do a urine test, and I found she was toxic in antimony. I didn't even know what the heck antimony was. I had to look it up. Antimony is a fire retardant used in bedding and sometimes the actual mattress that's in a crib. And as soon as I told the mother that, she was taken back because she said the child used to scream every single night when I tried to put her in a bed. But we couldn't let her sleep with us every night, so we forced her. And eventually she fell asleep, but she used to scream for hours when she put her in bed. She had a toxic load limit to antimony that was way down here. Because a lot of other kids are probably being exposed to the exact same thing, zero effect. But these things are affecting all of us individually differently. Bisphenol A, most people have heard of this one, BPA. You know, if you have kids, especially because you're aware of the plastics that they're using, but it's been in the news if you read about that. It's an ingredient in plastics in the lining of cans and bottles, and it's generally regarded as safe. But what about the combination of BPA and those fire retardants? And the other 210 chemicals that we're all exposed to? Nobody is studying the combinations of all those because it's impossible. You can't study the multiple permutations of every single human being and the combinations of toxins that we're exposed to. So just because one is safe doesn't mean that one in your body with all the other stresses that we're receiving is safe. So you try to stay away from that. You know, perfluorooctanoic acid. You know, I remember my mom, you know, at some point, you know, scraping the pan, the nonstick pan when I was growing up. And, you know, we'd have scratches in there, and she didn't want to throw it out right away. So we just kept using it over and over again, even though there were flakes coming out, probably in our food. Okay? Now, you know, we do have one of these in my house. The second I see a scratch, it's in the garbage. It's known that, you know, hey, this is meant for not super high heat cooking, and the second I see something going on with it, it's out. Yet, that's an exposure. Okay? Acrylamide. This isn't even a chemical in our environment that's affecting us. This is the way we cook can change the chemical composition of foods. If you take a starchy food, whether it's bread, a potato, thing like that, and you really high heat it like a deep fry, it will actually change the chemical components of the food and turn part of it into acrylamide, okay, which is a carcinogen. Now, whether we're adapted to that or not genetically or over the millennia, that's a different story, I don't know, but we know it's a toxin that we're very regularly exposed to. Fried things or high heat cooking. You know, how many of us have never had a French fry? It's, you know, it's there. Okay, I had some potato chips last night. I know they're bad for you. There's a balance, we'll get to that. Mercury. There was a fish in, I think it's Gloucester, an old fishing museum, that they had tuna in a block of ice, one of these big giant tunas like the size of this room. It was frozen in a block of ice, and they did a core sample of it to test its mercury levels because it's over 100 years old. And they found just as much or more mercury in that tuna than today's tuna. It's not because mercury is new, it's because it's in our oceans, it's volcanic ash can have mercury, and these big tuna eat a lot of other fish and concentrate the toxins. So it's not just man-made, these things are just out there, it's just because we eat so much of each thing now, and the tuna is in a can which is lined with BPA, and we have the other 3,800 or at least 212 chemicals also, we're starting to see a lot of chronic problems. Okay? Methyl terbutyl ether. Okay? The reason I kept this slide in there is it says not currently in use today in the United States. Oh, phone's under there?
Yeah.
Not currently in use today in the United States, yet it's found in most Americans, in virtually all Americans. How is it there? Well, they're saying it was in gasoline as an additive and in cigarette smoke, so that was from the past. And it's probably getting here from some other country or some other way. But there's stuff that we can't avoid that's getting into our body. So how do you know if the toxins you've been exposed to are causing you health problems? The basic answer to that is you don't. It's virtually impossible to really say that it was because of toxins that I'm sick, unless you ingested something and you have the problem. Or another patient that was in the Israeli army that I took care of, and she was exposed to inhaling some very harsh things, burnt her esophagus, and for the rest of her life she's got some damage done. Well, yeah, we know that that's a toxic exposure, but that's an extreme situation. The main thing is we don't. So we just have to be aware and constantly work on improving our body and detoxing. What are possibly symptoms? Fatigue, depression, headaches, cognitive problems, neurological issues. You can blame that on 20 million things, not just toxins. This is one of the main reasons why our government is not saying anything about toxins. There's a lot of money involved, there's a lot of controversy involved, and you cannot just prove it, it's not black and white, because each toxin alone is generally regarded as safe. Conditions and diseases that have been showing up in industrialized countries, especially in America, all these things are chronic, and you can link to side effects of toxic exposure. One of the most common ones that I see right now is autoimmune. I should not be finding so many autoimmune cases myself. I can understand people know they have an autoimmune problem and come to me, but I'm the one finding them, doing the blood test and finding them, because nobody believes an autoimmune person is really sick. What autoimmune means is your body is attacking itself. Okay? One of the most common reasons is something called a leaky gut, where your body is exposed to so much garbage, it doesn't have the wherewithal to get rid of all of it, so you absorb more of it. And because these toxins, and it could even be something like wheat, it can be a food that you're toxic to, because these things are floating around your bloodstream and going everywhere, and your immune system is trying to recognize them and attack them, it doesn't know what to do anymore because it's working so hard, so it just starts attacking itself. And it just creates these loops. And it's treatable, but it's not easy, because the body innately thinks it's doing the right thing. And that's the key. That's one of the faults of applied kinesiology. Your muscles will tell me when your body thinks there's a problem. If there's something like these toxins or autoimmune issues, your body doesn't recognize there's a problem. It thinks it's doing the right thing. So we have to use other means. And sometimes that's the BIA readings that you've gotten. Sometimes that's just questionnaires. Sometimes that's just knowing your history and taking a guess. Because the great thing, and this was an interview I heard on NPR just the other day on Science Friday, there's two doctors, I don't want to say battling out, differences of opinion. One wants big regulation over vitamins and supplements and tests and all these things, and the other one is another MD, head of the Arizona Institute of Functional Medicine or something like that, that was just, kind of not arguing, but saying it's very hard to test these alternative therapies. Let's say acupuncture, they brought up. The doctor said, well, we should find the actual proof of acupuncture. We have enough technology to do that. And she was saying, well, it's really hard to do that because it's hard to come up with a sham acupuncture treatment. And acupuncture works different on everybody. You can't say that when you put the needle in, it clears your sinus. It makes your body better, just like chiropractic. When you get an adjustment, it doesn't take away any particular symptom at all. It allows your body to be more free and more at ease, so your body can function the best way possible. If you're not getting physical stress removed from your body, you're less able to handle all this stuff. So even though I think nutrition is important, it's vital, if you're not getting your nervous system in tune, it's almost meaningless. So let's go to next. What can you do? Okay? Reduce your exposure. Come to more things like this. If you want more info, I'll give you more info. There's tons of stuff on the internet. You don't want to go crazy on the internet. Let me tell you where to go, okay? Because you can get really scared and wind up doing the wrong detoxes, which are horrible. But if you're eating things like this, you're probably not doing too bad. If you're eating things that come in a box, you probably are. Okay? It's reducing exposure in your environment. You can filter chlorine better from your taps. You can use a lot more chemical-free products. Simple thing, taking off your shoes. I mean, I've been doing that for years. I think it's worse to take off your shoes in the house, even though my wife never did. And she used to walk all over the house, and you're bringing in literally a New York City gook into your house and spreading it around. It's real simple. Okay, maybe that's one of the other reasons why Japan is so healthy. Okay, I know they, barefoot once you get into the house. Okay? And avoid personal products with phthalates, parabens, 4-MBC, I don't even know what that is. Okay, it's not one of those chemicals. But you gotta read and look. If you're just buying stuff because of how cheap it is or how it smells or because of your commercial that you saw, you're probably picking the wrong thing, because the people that have the commercials have money to make the commercials, and the people that are making healthy products don't have the money to make commercials. Stereotype. I'm sure there are exceptions out there. Okay? So again, just eating these will help you out. And if you want to know also, hey, I eat fruits and vegetables, I'm great, I'm healthy, you should know the dirty dozen. These things you should really buy organic, because they're filled with so many pesticides or genetically modified. They're the worst 12. And you know what? I have non-organic these in my house sometimes. It's just that I'm not perfect. I make it a point to really try to be great about these, but I'm not going to be perfect. But everybody should know, if you want the list, we can print it out. The lowest in pesticides, another list. Okay? But we're getting exposed in other ways that we just package things. We buy things in plastic, or we buy things packaged, we put things in our shelves that are just plastic, and we're absorbing things from there, okay? What else can you do? You can formally detox. Okay? What a detox means to me is you're not taking pills that just make you poop your brains out, okay? And you're not taking some crazy thing on a shelf that you have no idea what it is. You're taking nutrients into your body for a period of time, either 10 days, 28 days, 6 months, 13 years, enough time so you think that you've done the job. Can we measure it a little bit with the BIA readings? But like I've talked to a bunch of patients, the BIA readings don't always change. We have other markers, other ways of figuring things out. But do you ever really know? No. So we have to use some common sense based upon your lifestyle. How much does this person need to detox? I need to detox less than some other people, because my daily habits are unbelievably good. They're believably good, okay? Because I do them. They're not perfect, okay? Because I keep thinking of my friend Josh, who does not touch anything that's not organic. I just can't live my life like that. Okay? I can, I don't want to, even though I know this stuff. But the only reason I live my life the way I do is because I keep exposing myself to these messages. That's the other purpose of going to a chiropractor, coming to workshops. The more you hear this stuff, the more innately you're just going to do it. It's just going to happen. I see it happen over and over again. People that fight me or don't want to change for years and years and years. Regular patients that don't listen to me, but they keep coming in. And little by little, they just tell me about these habits that they've changed. Okay? You know, just because they keep hearing it. It's kind of like going to church in a way. It's not a religion, it's not something, you know, fantastic out there. It's just if you hear the right message over and over again, you're bound to absorb it and take it on. So getting back, I sidetracked. What a detox means is, for a period of time, you're avoiding everything that we know is bad. Even if you're not getting organic kale, okay? You don't want to look at a label and say, this is bad for me, okay? You avoid that, okay? And there's a list of foods. You're putting in a lot of nutrients that help support your liver, kidney, and digestive tract. And that's it. You're basically helping your own innate ability to detox. Because we're so burdened every day, I do regular detox, like all the time. I eat foods that are good for my liver and my kidneys and my digestive tract. If something I eat makes me feel bad, I stay away from it. One of the greatest ways to detox is listening to your body. I have a patient, you know, that's was here this morning. She has one leg that's, you know, kind of swollen, especially towards the ankle, most of her life. I've tried to get her to follow these plans, you know, more strictly, but whenever she listens, even for a short period of time, to this food and way of eating, swelling goes away. And then she does it again. So the lesson was today, hey, it's up to you now. You can be as healthy or as unhealthy as you want to be. I can't force it on you. My job is, or our job is as a whole team, is to give you enough information and release the stress and tension from your body so you'll make the right decisions. And ultimately, I keep mentioning this word innate intelligence. The reason I say that is every single time you get adjusted, the whole purpose of the adjustment is not necessarily to just increase your range of motion and make you feel good. It's to make sure that you and your innate, which runs through your nervous system, this energy, this life force that runs through your nervous system, are uninterfered with. Okay, I said that correct. Are not interfered with. Because when you have a subluxation, you've all heard that word here, it interferes with your body's ability to make the right decisions because it increases stress. And if you've ever seen the rat study, that's one of the slides, that's lots of slides on here. We know that somebody in a stressful situation will tend to make the wrong decisions more often. So if you're constantly doing something to eliminate your stress, you're going to make better decisions. You're going to be more rational. One of the many reasons to get adjusted. So I'm going to open this up to questions in a second. I'm going to just say the last, kind of thing. Thanks, I've been getting better. Okay. I'm going to say the last thing. Don't sit here and do nothing with this info. If you just learn something, okay, do something about it. What you could do is you could tell somebody else, hey, you and me need to detox. You could just get rid of all the plastic containers in your house. You could never buy non-organic kale and strawberries again. You could just do something. But if you learn something and don't take an action, I feel bad for you. I don't need you to change tomorrow, even though I'd like you to. I'm going to keep pushing you to. So don't feel bad when you say that I did something good and I keep pushing you. It's just the way it is. I get the same thing done from my chiropractors and my coaches and things like that. You have to be pushed, or else you just stay where you are or get worse. So I'll encourage you to keep changing. And you can either do it the fast way and get better really fast and enjoy life right now, or you can do it the Stacy way. This is Stacy's my wife. Okay, I talk about her all the time. Her habits are, for the most part now, better than mine. Yet she used to be the person that came home from the store, okay, starts emptying the groceries onto the table, and I take the groceries and I put them right into the garbage. This is how our life was for a good year, okay? It was that bad, because we butted heads so much, okay? It wasn't every single thing I threw in the garbage, but it was the only way because I knew she was too lazy to return it, okay? So it was just gonna sit there, and I wasn't gonna eat it, and I didn't want it in my house. I didn't want my kids eating it, so it went to the garbage. It wound up being that we wound up somewhere in between. There's a little garbage in the house, but there are some limits, there's some rules. And all I'm going to ask you to do is, after learning this, set some limits. Pick a new thing that you weren't doing before and start doing that. And then tell others that they should be doing it too. So that's the end of the workshop, but even though you need to get adjusted, if there's any questions, go ahead and ask. And I'll go through any questions and answers. If not, we're going to be doing this next week, every single week. Different topic all the time, and you heard this last week, and I think it might...
You didn't have the slides working.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Good, then it changed. Okay.
But you said some of the same things, yeah.
Okay.
But I forgot some of them already, so
yeah.
it's good for me. I didn't throw my nonstick pans out, now I remember.
Okay. You can always pick something up.
But I did talk to my brother. I realized after seeing you just now that I did talk to my brother about it, and he was saying that he watches TV all day. It's a long story. And he was saying that if you talk about people who don't have the money to remote, he said now that's what Suzanne